Take this. There's so much more, Guardian. I've seen terrible things born out in the darkness. Every moment brings them closer.
When talking about all of the convoluted mysteries in Destiny 1's story, I'd be willing to bet that the Stranger is one of the most common things that comes to mind. Other than the Speaker, you, your Ghost, and the Queen, there really weren't any other characters in Destiny 1's vanilla storyline. So you'd think that the Stranger should be a pretty big deal considering that she's one of 5 major characters. And just to make this clear before I head any further, Zavala, Cayde, and Ikora don't count. While present in Vanilla's campaign, they weren't really an integral part in cutscenes until the Taken King. And thank God they're relevant now, because they actually have this thing that everyone else didn't have in Vanilla Destiny. Personality. I do understand since then Destiny has added multiple characters to the mix, but for this video I'm only linking Destiny 1 in its vanilla form with Destiny 2. Because every other story thus far has been a side story, a pivot from the things that are going on in the base game. Moving on to Destiny 2, while we've seen a few of the other characters returning, the Stranger seems nowhere to be found in any of the promotional material we've seen so far. Which to some might mean that her character has been completely scratched because the Destiny storyline was so good. Oh wait, did I read that right? Oh, my bad. So shit. But I'm not so sure about that. Before we get into any of my speculation, let's go over what we know about the Stranger, thanks to our good old reliable friend, Wikipedia. It reads, "The Stranger is an exo that roams the wild without a ghost. Her purpose and intentions are unknown, but she appears to be interested in the player's activities and keeps tabs on them when they venture outside of the city." Now, a lot of that is very vague, but there are some key things that I want to take out from that. She has no ghost, and she's interested in the player's activities. One of the things we know about Destiny 2 is that Ghaul takes away the player's light, pretty much implying that you'll be playing some parts of the game without your ghost. Interesting timeline coincidence? Possibly, but then again, she says herself that she wasn't forged in light, so that probably explains why she has no ghost. And while that one is debunked, the more I dig in on info, the more of these interesting coincidences I find. We all know that she's capable of appearing and disappearing out of reality. Her weapon has parts that shouldn't exist yet. And in Destiny's original storyline, she was an assistant to Osiris. Some people think that she's this new Hawthorne character, which, could be true, but I personally don't agree with that. All in all, she's someone that appears to be time traveling, using some variation of Vex technology, and is very interested in what we, the player, are doing in Destiny 1, going as far as being the one to tell us of the Black Garden and the Awoken in the first place. And going off time traveling, it isn't some weird new thing in Destiny. Just look at the Vault of Glass, or any Vex mission for that matter. All of these details lead to a bigger story culminating in Destiny 2 in my opinion. I think Bungie has had this plan all along, but since the campaign was so poor in Destiny 1, I think the Stranger got more attention than Bungie intended. I still think that Destiny 1's story got changed drastically, but I think that the parts with the Stranger, for the most part, were left unchanged because they were meant from the beginning to be part of a bigger story arc, which to me would explain why everything is so vague. If the base story in Destiny 1 was good, satisfying, and just at least made sense with other good characters that aren't the Stranger, then having one confusing character meant to set up a sequel wouldn't be such a big deal. But of course we know that wasn't the case. So now we have Destiny 2, and Ghaul, or Gary, is invading the tower, stripping the Guardians of their light. Ghaul believes that the Traveler, in choosing the Guardians, chose wrong. He is thus successful in invading the tower, making the Guardians flee to other places in our solar system. and it's our job to bring everything back to the way it was. So on the surface, it's pretty hard to tie these two characters, the stranger and Gary, together. But there's one thing, in my opinion, that can. Now, before I get into any of this, everything that I'm about to talk about from here on out is purely speculation, meaning that this can be completely wrong regarding the actual story in Destiny 2. I'm just going off the facts I know and read about, and I'm just throwing them together the best I can. Don't hurt me. At the end of the gameplay trailer for Destiny 2, we see this super weapon looking thing blow up what seems to be the sun, destroying some planets in the way. Some have speculated that this is the Cabal in the campaign blowing up the sun in our solar system, and have made their own long videos talking about how this is possible. And while this may seem like a stretch, perhaps it's really not. There are some small snippets here showing Guardians fighting at this odd-looking location, which, could be on the super weapon, as the sun is clearly shown here. Also, there's a very short clip shown of Guardians in what could be the wreckage of such an attack. And thirdly, we've known for a while that the Cabal have destroyed other worlds before, so perhaps this isn't that far-fetched. Now, this could be a flashback to the Cabal using this weapon to, destroy someone else's livelihood, but let's just say that the Cabal succeed in blowing up our sun in Destiny 2. It's an event like this that ties in the Stranger. We've stated that she can time travel because of her vast knowledge of the Vex technologies. And when we see her in the campaign, specifically at the Ishtar Academy on Venus, she is clearly in the middle of some sort of battle, in a rush, with her infamous "I don't have time to explain" quote, that has conceived way too many memes. Okay, you can never have too many memes. And it's the fight against Gaul that I believe the Stranger is engaged in some fashion. When looking at the DLC packs for Destiny 2, there's a symbol involving Osiris and Rasputin in that order. And both of these things have ties with the Stranger. But right now in this video, I want to focus on Osiris. I said earlier in the video that she, in the original story for Destiny, was Osiris' assistant. And while a lot of the original story for Destiny 1 has clearly been scratched, I think it's possible that not everything was altered. And yes, I'll reiterate that all of this is speculation. I'm just putting things together. But for me, it wouldn't be that outlandish of an assumption that Gary destroys our sun and Osiris and the Stranger come into the story because of that, either in the main game or, unfortunately, in the first DLC. At first, I thought that maybe we seek help from the Stranger and Osiris to turn back time to stop this from happening after it does, but after looking at the Stranger's motivations in the first game, I don't see that as that plausible anymore. She is known as someone who's scouting you. She is the one who tells you to go to Venus, the Awoken, and destroy the darkness in the Black Garden. She's testing you. Osiris is testing you as well in the trials. She says things like, "Well fought, many Guardians fell, strong ones, but you made it here." The Stranger, in my opinion, is someone who is from a future where the sun has exploded, and everything's just shit. So she goes back in time and looks for a Guardian, you, who has the power to defeat Gaul and stop all that from happening. And when you think of it like that, the encounters with her don't seem so confusing anymore. While they're still vague, at least, now they can be tied to something. Saying things like, "Our fight is far from over. I've seen terrible things born out in the darkness." Every moment brings them closer. And the Traveler imagery when she says such things is foreshadowing to the max. Everything she tells you to do is a way of testing your strength. I said before that the Stranger wasn't forged in light, that she's not a Guardian. So maybe before in an alternate timeline, she didn't try to team up with the Guardians to stop Gaul. Maybe the Guardians and whatever squadron she's with fought against him separately, which ultimately led to both of their demise. She also tells you, "I believe where our paths cross, ground could break," which not only confirms to me that their paths will cross again, but that she wants to work together. She also says, "A side should always be taken, little light. even if it's the wrong side. And with context in that instance, I think she's referring to the Awoken, but I think that this statement has a double meaning. The Stranger and Osiris had to choose a side if they wanted to survive. So this second time around, they're siding with the Guardians. If you didn't know, Osiris was exiled from the tower. So to me, this gives him enough reason to have some beef with the Speaker, who is conveniently missing in Destiny 2, and would be hesitant to help the Guardians in the fight against Gaul.
Ikora, the Speaker is gone!
The Stranger makes it clear that she's not associated with you, motivating you by saving things like your Traveler and calling your ghost Little Light. The Guardians may not be the right side to them, but they're the side to take ultimately to save the solar system from getting blown up. And you may be asking, well, Gary is attacking the Traveler and the Light, and clearly Osiris and the Stranger don't care about any of that stuff, so why would they want to do the Guardians a solid like that if they don't really like them? And to give them a motive, it might sound pretty dumb, but I'm just gonna go right ahead and say it anyway. What planet would take the most damage from an explosion like this? The planet closest to the sun, right? What planet is the closest to the sun? What planet does Osiris live on? Yep, Pluto. This to me gives both of these characters, the Stranger and Osiris, enough motivation to team up to defeat Gaul. While I'm not completely ruling it out, I don't think that this cutscene is something that happens in-game. I think it's something that happens in an alternate timeline where the Stranger doesn't seek help from you, which makes everything shit, causing her to go back in time and find a Guardian strong enough to fight with to defeat Gaul and save the solar system from getting exploded. Taking the tower back will be easy, but defeating Gaul once and for all will take a little bit extra help. And if her gun signifies anything, it's that this fight is coming soon. So that's my theory for how the Stranger will fit into Destiny 2. I'm aware that it's very possible that some to all of this may prove to be false, but even still, I don't think that something like this would be a bad thing to do, story-wise for the game. But you've heard my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think. Will the Stranger be in Destiny 2? And if so, how? If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And for more videos, click on the little eye icon in the top right, or just pick some that I've left on screen for you. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.